But no visitor made more headlines than the actress Jane Fonda. During 2 weeks in the summer of 1972, she broadcast at least 10 times over Radio Hanoi, denouncing American POWs for having committed war crimes, urging the North Vietnamese to hold out against American imperialism. Many Americans would never forgive her for what she did and said.
According to international law, these men are war criminals. That's according to law, according to the Nuremberg principles, according to the Geneva Accord and others. They should be tried in front of a court and probably executed for what they did.
I bring greetings from our Vietnamese brothers and sisters.
And while we talk about mourning, and while we suffer with the Vietnamese for what has happened to them in these cities, we have to recognize that Hanoi Haiphong is not Hiroshima, is not Dresden, is not Nagasaki. The people fought back. They didn't flee in terror. They shot with rifles, they shot with machine guns, they shot with missiles, and they won.
And here is movie actress Jane Fonda.
This is Jane Fonda speaking in Hanoi. And I'm speaking particularly to U.S. citizens who are stationed by the aircraft carriers in the Gulf of Tonkin, in the 7th Fleet, in the Anglican Corps in the south of Vietnam. We're very far away, perhaps, and removed from the country that we're being ordered to shoot shells at and bomb. And the use of these bombs, or the condoning the use of these bombs, makes one a war criminal. The men who are ordering you to use these weapons are war criminals.
This is Jane Fonda in Hanoi, and I'm speaking to the men in the Catholics of the families, in the bishops of cities, your SOs, those of you who are still here fighting the war, all of you, in your heart of hearts, know the lies. You know the cheating on the body count, the falsified body reports, and the number of planes that are shot down, and what your targets really are. Knowing who is doing the lying, should you then allow these same people and same liars to decide for you who your enemy is? Shouldn't we then, shouldn't we all, examine the reasons that have been given to us to justify the murder that you are being paid to commit? If they told you the truth, you wouldn't fight, you wouldn't kill, so you were not born and brought up by your mothers to be killed. So you have been use and save lives so that it would be possible for you to take.
I have been accused of being a traitor. What is a traitor? What is being a patriot? I cried every day that I was in Vietnam, and I never cried for the Vietnamese. It's impossible to have pity for them. I cried for America.
Now, in 3 months period, that means only 12 people a week were killed, considered enemies of the people. Compare this to what happens when B-52 bombers, strategic bombers, fly so high that they can't see the target they're bombing and level an entire city. This is what concerns me about America.
They continued treating their American guests with humanity and hospitality.
One day there was an air raid right close by, and there had a trench out back that they took me out and put me in, and every time that an airplane went over, there were several of them would stand around, they had big long bamboo sticks, and they would just beat the daylights out of me.
You don't think they were brainwashed?
I asked them if they were brainwashed, and they laughed, and they said, well, we read Time and Life and Newsweek and the New York Times, and they said, tell our families that we are being taken care of all right.
Then once I got to the camp, they refused to give me medical treatment, saying that I was going to die in 4 hours if I didn't give them information. I just finally passed out.
They paint, they teach each other classes. They were very strong, healthy, interested, intelligent men. The pilots, I don't think they knew it, but they were dropping weapons on the country which are illegal, which are war crimes. The fact that they are treated, given medical aid, given dental treatment, are alive and well, indicates that these people are humane. They are humane.
What happened to you when you refused to speak well of your conditions for Jane Fonda?
When I went into this, the political commissar of our camp got very angry with me, and as a result of my quite frank remarks, and I had again reiterated that I would like to really tell her the truth, you know, of the experience that I had. And so Jane, or not Jane, I mean the political commissar then made me kneel down on my knees on rocks on a concrete floor, hold out my hands like this with a piece of heavy metal reinforcing rod on the end of my hands, and remain that way. I spent about 2 days on my knees that way, and whenever my hands would become too tired to hold him up, then I would be beaten by him.
And they were in such good mental and physical shape.
I spent over 3 weeks during one period of time that way, not even allowed outside to defecate, and had to lay in my own defecation.
I had something like 400 and some odd strokes of a fan belt in one torture session where my buttocks were just hamburger. And this was in addition to 37 or 38 months of solitary.
And Christmas Day, they evacuated in a good scientific fashion 400,000 people in 24 hours from Hanoi. Imagine trying to do that from this country. From any city in this country, it speaks well for socialism.
Nobody yelled, why don't you go live with them?
Nobody did.
How do you feel about that, sir?
If she doesn't like it here, I believe that she should coincide with all of those people over there and cohabit with them.
Oh, well, you have very nice manners. Well, that there's a lot of pressure put on the press. Do you know what happens to people? Like if I go on a show, or Dan Ellsberg, or if any of you got on the show and criticized Nixon, that program gets a call from the White House immediately. Now, you know, people who are earning their living, they get scared, they're frightened. Who controls the press? Who controls the newspaper? The fat cats again. The fat tats. So
let me duck in here because you're in my ballpark now. I don't think it's fair. We do not get a call from the White House.
That's what the press has told me.
All right, that is not true. Okay, but it is not. I think it is overkill to say that the White House calls every time someone goes on television.
I'm just telling you what press has told me.
Okay. You'll stand.
I can't sit here any longer and hear her talk. She might know what she's saying, but why would we believe you?
Well, she seems to feel that that our being in Vietnam is all our fault. The communists have inspired and kept this going. They're doing this to undermine our country, and you're helping them.
Are the Vietnamese going to row across the Pacific and attack us? This is a small agrarian agricultural peasant society.
Then you'll see how they work, and you're an agent of theirs. You're helping them.
So you admire John Wayne in a way, then, don't you?
No, I disagree with John Wayne.
Republic. I like the sound of the word. Means people can live free, talk free, go or come, buy or sell, be drunk or sober, however they choose. Some words give you a feeling. Republic is one of those words that makes me tight in the throat.
That was a thoughtless and careless thing to have done.
Jane's apology on 2020 and her soul search with veterans in Waterbury did not mollify other veterans who convened in Oklahoma City.
She just wants to smooth things out for her own movie career and to try to smooth things out for her husband's future political career.
It's not no damn apology.
She will always be a traitor.
The Hanoi Jane sucks.
Some things just don't get forgotten. Even if you are forgiven, it ain't forgotten.
It was worse than just being manipulated and used. She got into that with all her heart. She wanted the North Vietnamese to win. And she caused the death of an unknown amount of Americans.
She didn't understand the political realities of the country. She didn't understand the anguish of the POWs and their families and their supporters. She didn't understand the sensitivities of being too outrageous in one's criticism of American forces once they're committed to battle.
She did something totally immoral.
She needs to go down in history for what she is, the traitor. Jane the traitor.
Hanoi Jane would henceforth rank right up there with World War II enemy propagandists Tokyo Rose and Axis Sally.
I made a terrible mistake while I was there. This group of soldiers sang me a song, and they asked me to sing them one, and I sang one, and we were all clapping and laughing, and someone kind of ushered me over and sat me down, and I didn't think what I was doing. I didn't think. And I was laughing, and there were a lot of journalists, and pictures were taken. And it wasn't until I stood up and started walking away that I realized, oh my God, this is going to look like I am shooting at American planes or that I'm against American soldiers. It was terrible, a terrible lapse of judgment to have allowed myself to be put in a situation where I looked like the enemy of the soldiers that I had been working with for years to try to help. The men who brought me into the anti-war movement. It was like a knife into my heart, and I will go to my grave regretting it.
Thank you.